the cat that you did for what's it called?
Admiral.
Yeah, it was a weird voice.
Yeah.
A lot of people missing tonight, so we'll be doing a solid storyline.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hello.
Frank, go ahead.
You're not
You
streaming.
just stream it.
The stream's not up.
Right.
Wealth, status, honor. None of these mean anything to me. All I want is a peaceful life. To put worry behind me. To stay calm, serene. To be free of worldly concerns. Free at any cost. A cheery rhythm pumped from the CD player set up against a steady wall. It was the latest hit from Aya Kamiki, the songwriter sensation who was blowing up the pop charts. Kenji Osawa reached for the stereo remote on his desktop. He ratcheted the volume up a little louder. He looked like the sort of man who'd be more interested in classical music, but in fact, he was a huge fan of the girl rock popular with middle schoolers. Closing his eyes, he swayed back and forth in time with the music, humming his favorite lyrics under his breath. But his movements faltered. It's no use. Aya's voice usually soothed whatever ailed him, but today, even she couldn't help. Today, Osawa was a complete wreck in both body and mind. Mounds of paperwork were scattered across the desktop in his study. All of it about viruses and vaccines. It had only been a week since he'd returned from a business trip to his company's branch office in the US, and he was slated to go back in another week's time. There was a truly staggering amount of work he needed to get through while he was at home. He picked up one of the papers, glanced at it aimlessly, and tossed it back onto the desk. Plumping back in his chair, he let out a long, deep sigh. He was in no mental state to work right now. A faint knock at the door barely roused him from his torpor.
Duckfoot, go for it.
Director, may I come in?
It was his vice director, Mamoru Tanaka. Sure. The door's open. Naka came into the study.
I know it's not a great time, but
Osawa could barely make out his words. He tapped the remote, lowering the volume of the music. Tanaka continued up apologetically.
a call came in from the lab. They're hoping for a response to the email they sent yesterday.
I'm sure they don't need it today.
Apparently they do need an answer as soon as possible, sir. I did ask them to give you some more time, but...
I see. Osawa said wearily. All right then. Tanaka dipped his head slightly and slipped out of the room. Osawa contemplated his colleague. Tanaka was a man he could truly depend on. He has enough of his own work to do. He didn't need to come here again today, but he did. They'd been working in close concert ever since Osawa had gotten back to Japan. Without Tanaka's support, there was no way he would be in a mindset to do any work at all right now. Sidling up to his computer, Osawa opened his email program and started answering the work-related messages. He reported on his business travel expenses, offered his opinions on capital investments, requested confirmation on current medicinal stockpiles. He worked with bleak detachment. None of this meant anything to him right now. Then a new email appeared in his inbox. The sender was identified simply as A. The subject line read, 1 year ago, South Africa. The message body was blank, but there appeared to be multiple images attached. Ordinarily, Osawa would have deleted the message like this immediately, assuming that it contained some kind of virus. But the words South Africa drew his attention. Could this possibly be related to? He couldn't help but wonder. For a long moment, he hovered over the cursor over one of the image files. At last, as if spurred on by the upbeat rhythm in his ears, he double-clicked the mouse. What is this? The grainy photograph showed a large room with a dozen or so people laid out in beds. It appeared to be some sort of medical ward. Osawa felt a strange flutter in his chest. He quickly opened another image. This one showed a close-up of one of the patients in his bed. Large red blotches covered his face. A large volume of blood appeared to be dripping from his ears and nostrils. A cold shudder ran up Osawa's spine. What the hell? These symptoms. Osawa opened up the remaining image files. Each new picture showed another of the patients. They all appeared to be teetering on the brink of death. There was no doubt about it. These people were infected with the UA virus. But how? Questions tumbled through Osawa's mind. His fingers tapped out a quick message. He doubted he'd get a response, but he might as well try. Who are you? Where are these images from? The UA virus got its name from a Swahili word for flower. Supposedly, this was based on the fact that the propagated form of the virus resembled the petals of a flower. Despite the flowery name, however, the disease was anything but pretty. Ua didn't just mean flower, it also meant to kill. And as the name suggested, the virus had a mortality rate of 100% in those it managed to infect. Moreover, there was a very short incubation period between infection, the onset of symptoms, and death. Within roughly 12 hours, bleeding would set in throughout the body, everywhere but the bones and muscles, with lethal results. The disease's very existence had been kept hidden from public knowledge. Osawa's computer chimed to signify the arrival of a new email. The sender was A. He hurried to open the message. Once again, the subject line read, 1 year ago, South Africa. Your crimes. Osawa stared at those two words. My crimes? That left him with only further questions. He looked again at the images from the previous email. What makes any of this my crimes? He could see that the patient's bleeding was severe. He estimated that several hours had passed since the onset of the disease. It wouldn't be long before their lives were cut short. To feel that agony, that suffering, and then to perish? Am I to blame for that? Another faint knock came at the door.
Jules, go for it.
Darling? Do you have a moment?
It was his wife, I. B. Give me a second. Osawa hurriedly closed the mail program. Even if this was nothing more than some sick prank, it wasn't anything he wanted his family to see. Especially not I. Alright, coming. But Osawa turned to see that I had already let herself into the study. The sharp sting of her perfume made him scrunch up his face for a moment.
Have you reconsidered the whole America thing?
She asked. This again, Osawa thought sullenly to himself. Please, he said. Can we not discuss this right now?
If not now, then when? You know this isn't a decision to just make on your own.
On his latest business trip, a major American pharmaceutical firm had attempted to headhunt him, asking him to join them and be among the top researchers in the world. The money and the prestige held no interest for him, and he was reluctant to turn his back on Okoshi Pharmaceutical after his many years of service. Nonetheless, he was intrigued by the offer. It would mean the chance to conduct his virus research in a much better funded environment. Taking the job would necessitate relocating to the US, however. When he'd mentioned the possibility of emigrating to I, she'd shot down the idea on the spot. Her opposition was understandable. I's father, Suguru Makino, was a member of Okoshi Pharmaceutical's board of directors. No way was he going to let Osawa jump ship to another company.
Darling. Please.
I drew in closer to him.
Think about it from my perspective. If you leave for America, what am I supposed to tell my father?
He'd gotten so used to it. That grating whine of hers.
Have you considered what might happen to Okoshi if you leave, dear?
We can discuss that once all this is finished. Osawa kept his voice as level as he could.
You do remember that you're a director, right?
I said,
You have responsibilities. Stop thinking about yourself so much.
with a sour look. I turned and departed. Well, he had known that moving to America would never be a simple matter, regardless of what his wife thought about it. There was another reason, however, the antiviral agent that he had developed at Akoshi. After the WA virus was discovered, the infectious disease research facilities worldwide had thrown themselves into a top-secret effort to develop a vaccine. But Makino had ordered Osawa to work on creating an antiviral agent, not a vaccine. A vaccine immunized the subject in order to prevent infection in the first place. Conversely, an antiviral agent could be used to treat patients already infected. It was a so-called wonder drug for combating the virus itself. Creating such a drug was far easier said than done. Developing the antiviral had been a long, arduous road. Only after years of research had Osawa's team succeeded in identifying a substance that might qualify as an antiviral agent for UA. In theory, if it was administered during the virus's initial stages, 100% recovery could be attained. Data also suggested an 80% survival rate for patients treated shortly after the onset of symptoms. But there was a fatal flaw with the new antiviral agent. The side effects on the body were unusually potent. If it was administered in amounts beyond a certain threshold, it was linked to life-threatening complications. For a time, the research was at an impasse. It had seemed that the drug had to be administered in high volume to combat the explosive propagation of the UA virus. But then, Osawa had received some fortuitous news. Akoshi Pharmaceuticals' nanotechnology branch had engineered a cutting-edge device known as the DDS. Osawa had jumped on it immediately. By administering his antiviral agent with the nanotech DDS, he was able to use smaller amounts of the drug to quash the UA virus with precision. The procedure was a huge success. There was a marked increase in the drug's efficacy, along with the expected decrease in adverse side effects. The effects had been confirmed via animal testing on monkeys, and now the antiviral was ready for the final development stages, clinical trials on humans. But the very existence of this new wonder drug was still a secret. Reluctant to see Osawa, the drug's lead researcher transferred to another company. Still, it wasn't completely outside the realm of possibility. Once the antiviral was out of development and announced to the public, Osawa would be free and clear. For that very reason, he was loath to cause any friction over the drug right now. This anxiety only magnified his concern about the email he'd just received. Osawa called up Tanaka over the intercom. There's something I want to show you. Could you come in here? He needed a second opinion, and Tanaka could be relied upon. Osawa opened the door the moment Tanaka knocked, and he looked around before ushering his vice director inside.
What's this about, sir?
This. Osawa showed him one of the images. Tanaka's face went pale.
Can't be.
Tanaka clearly recognized the symptoms of the Ua virus. Any idea what this is about? Osawa asked.
No, sir.
These images were just emailed to me. The subject line says, 1 year ago, South Africa.
That would put it around the same time as the most recent run of infections, wouldn't it, sir? But that information isn't...
Tanaka trailed off. Osawa nodded. The thing I don't understand is why these pictures were sent to me. Osawa opened the other email from A. The second message I got says that these pictures are my crimes.
I'll look into this on my end, sir.
Tanaka said. He hesitated uncomfortably.
Sir, just to make sure,
Are you asking about what I think you're asking about? Osawa said. Tanaka gave a slight nod. Understood, Osawa said. Don't worry. I won't trouble you.
I appreciate that, sir.
Visibly relieved, Tanaka left the study. Osawa brought up a folder marked Ua virus on his screen. But in the folder were enlarged images of the virus itself. He double-clicked one of the images and blew up on the monitor to reveal the pathogen in intricate detail. A specimen of the Ua virus was approximately 100 nanometers in diameter. 10,000 of them in a line would take up barely a millimeter. But a single, tiny virion upon entering the human body could become 2,000 in an hour. That speed of multiplication was nothing short of astonishing. Even the Ebola virus had a typical incubation period of 7 days or so before the infectees developed symptoms. For influenza, it was 1 or 2. But the onset of the Ebola virus happened in a mere 12 hours. Osawa viewed an image slideshow of the virus's propagation mechanism. It was a fascinating sight, no matter how many times he looked at it. Viruses existed to multiply, nothing more. They had no motives, no driving logic. Nothing but simple multiplication. To Osawa, that fact held a certain air of mystery. If viruses had emotions, how would they feel about their lives? He had thrown himself into virus research in search of answers to questions like that, answers that no man could truly know. His development of the antiviral agent had really been nothing more than another job responsibility. He felt no particular sense of duty to protect people from a killer virus. He was just happy for the chance to play around with the UA day after day. Another email arrived in his inbox. The sender, A. The subject line, 1 year ago, South Africa. Again. Osawa read the message. Do not look away. These are your crimes. This time, there were 4 images attached. Osawa proceeded to open each of them in turn. The first shocked Osawa so much that he felt like he'd been punched in the head. One of the UA patients from the earlier images was being injected with something. No. Osawa muttered to himself. It can't be. The second image showed one of the infected, hunched over in pain, vomiting up blood. The symptoms had already manifested, but Osawa thought he could see that some degree of life had come back into the patient's eyes. He rushed to open the third image. It showed a morgue, piled high with corpses. The rictus of anguish on the dead faces made them look no longer human. Various fluids seeped from the eyes and nostrils. The lymph nodes were grotesquely swollen. There were hospital beds, stained with massive amounts of blood and gastric fluids. Next came the fourth and final image. More corpses. They had badges affixed to their chests with various labels. 6 hours passed, 12 hours passed, and 18 hours passed. It looked as if someone had been attempting live trials of the vent with the antiviral agent. Osawa didn't consider the antiviral agent ready for release, but that was because his team hadn't conducted clinical trials on humans yet. And there was a good reason why such trials hadn't been conducted. There was no way to test the efficacy of the drug without an infected patient. proper clinical test, someone would first need to be infected with the UA virus. No matter how effective animal testing had been, if the drug proved ineffective on humans, that person would have a guaranteed death sentence. It was unthinkable to run trials that involved such a deadly risk. And yet, as he looked over the images again and again, Osawa became certain. Without his knowledge, someone, presumably someone from Okoshi Pharmaceutical, had conducted human testing with the antiviral agent. And cut off the end of the previous line. Or, I guess, cut off the beginning.
Hold on.
The time markers on the corpses in the fourth image were surely there to mark the time elapsed since the onset of symptoms. A thorough trial would test the drugs. Effectiveness in those time frames. Osawa slammed his fist on the desk, enraged. This was nothing short of vile human experimentation in the guise of a clinical testing. The people responsible could not be allowed to get away with this. There was only one person Osawa could trust to keep this under wraps: his boss, Makino. He reached for his phone to call Makino. But he stopped short as soon as he picked up the receiver. He knew he was in no state of mind to have a calm, reasoned conversation right now. Turning to the CD player, he put on Aya Kamiki's latest album. Leaning back in his chair, he surrendered himself to her soothing tones. Bit by bit, he could feel himself returning to a calmer, emotional state. There had been a time when Osawa hadn't listened to music at all. In fact, he'd had no interest in the arts in general: music, painting, cinema. It was only due to a simple coincidence that he had found Aya Kamiki. His daughter had asked for a CD as a birthday present, so he'd swung by the store to pick one up. Since Kamiki's new album had just come out, there was a display for it in the front of the shop. Something about the bright, colorful album packaging had drawn him in. After a time, Osawa could feel himself growing calmer. He took a nice, deep breath. Then he dialed up Makino.
Emilio, go for it.
Has there been any progress?
Makino asked as soon as he picked up. His voice was somber. No, Osawa said. Nothing much yet. A tiny sigh came in from the other end of the line.
I see. Then what can I do for you?
Sir, I'll just get right to the point. Have you conducted clinical trials using the antiviral drug? Makino didn't respond right away.
What makes you think that?
he asked at last. Osawa described the emails he'd received. When he'd finished, Makino let out his breath in surprise.
Not over the phone.
He said.
We'll discuss this in person. I'll head over to your place when I'm done here.
As soon as possible, sir,
As soon as I can manage.
Makino said.
You're not the only person who's busy.
With that, Makino hung up. There was no doubt about it then. There had been human testing. Osawa went to let Tanaka know he'd been meeting with Makino. A stolid-looking man stood in the hallway, almost as if he'd been waiting for Osawa to emerge. Pardon me, Mr. Osawa, but could you come with me for a moment? The detectives assembled in the living room all wore grave expressions. The room was brimming with tension, and Osawa felt it ramp up even further as he entered. What is it? He asked. Has something happened? The man who had come to find him turned to speak, hesitating at first. Yes. It turns out that your other daughter, Hitomi, has been abducted by an unknown party. Abducted? Osawa's mind whirled. What are you talking about? Maria's the one who's been abducted. No, sir. You don't understand. I'm saying that Hitomi has also been abducted, in addition to Maria. Don't be ridiculous. The night before, his daughter Maria gets kidnapped, and this morning, his other daughter, Hitomi, gets carried off when she goes to deliver the ransom? He'd never heard anything more outrageous in his life. We're sorry, sir. A detective was with her, but... The police went on to explain that Hitomi had somehow managed to end up all by herself, and while she was alone, several individuals had forced her into a car and driven off. Osawa could barely comprehend what they were saying. His mind was in a fog. The detective's words seemed to grow quieter and quieter. Osawa's strength drained from his body. His ability to process external stimuli began to drift far, far away. It's not possible. It can't be. Can no one keep them safe? Not me. Not anyone? My girls, they tell me. Maria. It's not true. This is all just a bad dream. Some kind of sick joke. Slowly, the ceiling began to spin. Then Osawa's vision was awash with white. Yes, but let's be. First, he took a nice, deep breath. Then he closed his eyes and tried to banish his nerves completely. Inclining his head toward the music, he could feel the melody pervade his body. He could scarcely believe there had been a time when he hadn't cared about music. Surely, something that had such a strong effect on the body and mind alike could also convey a deeper meaning. Osawa let the positive energy flow through him, buoying his spirits. At last, when his mood had sufficiently calmed under the music's influence, Osawa reached for the handset. The study door opened and a stolid-faced man appeared in the doorway. I beg your pardon, Mr. Osawa. Would you mind coming to the living room for a moment?
It's the same outcome, I think. Let's get to where we stopped. Alright, here we go.
I slumped forward in defeat, face planting on the tabletop. No.
Lini, you feeling tonight?
Most folks would have noticed that they put it on, you know.
Well, I didn't. The boss helped me get into is the thing.
Well, don't let it get you down.
Chiri says.
Here, drink some of this.
She pulls a bottle with a straw from her bag and pours some of the tea into it. In a fever of thirst, I jam the plastic straw through the mascot costume's mouth. Thankfully, it reaches as far as my own. I suck for all I'm worth. I suck, and I suck, and I suck. My body rejoices as the moisture returns to it like rain coming to the desert. And thus, I revive. Actually, it kind of does feel like I'm coming back to life. Oh, thank you so much. I'm never going to forget this as long as I live. With tears welling up in my eyes, I clutch Chiri's hand in my fuzzy mitts.
Hey, I'm not the kind of person to abandon someone in need, you know.
She replies. An embarrassed grin crosses her face. How come you're carrying this bottle around with you anyway, I ask.
That's because I make my own protein juice.
Protein juice? Never heard of it.
I heard that if you have protein juice for one of your 3 meals a day, you'll lose weight. So yeah, I kind of need to keep it.
Given Chiri's sort of, well, chubby frame, I don't think the protein's been working so great for her.
I've been trying all sorts of stuff, but right now protein is totally the best thing for my diet. This stuff, though.
Chiri casts her eyes at the samples of burning hammer on the table.
It's like totally bogus.
Huh? Bogus? That's a surprise.
Oh yeah,
Chiri says.
you gotta exercise if you want to burn body fat.
She smacks herself on one flabby arm.
I mean, there's no way you're gonna lose weight by taking in more calories.
Huh. Didn't she just say she was drinking protein juice to lose weight? I keep that thought to myself.
I mean, that'd be as ridiculous as all you can eat Kobe beef.
She adds. She shakes her head seriously. I'm not sure about using all-you-can-eat anything as an example in a discussion about weight loss. But again, I keep the thought to myself.
But hey, a job's a job.
Chiri says, ooh. A sudden wailing comes from the other side of the door.
Panda, go for it.
Please, just give me more time! I swear I'll get it back to you!
What the heck?
Chiri says.
Is that the boss?
I nod. That's definitely Mr. Yanagishita's voice. He's the guy who hired me. Sliding up alongside Chiri, I very quietly open the door and take a peek inside. Mr. Yanagishita is down on his hands and knees, begging, while two uncouth-looking men glower at him.
Just a little more time, that's all I ask!
He pleads.
Once I sell the stuff, I can pay you back!
I see a tiny bottle of burning hammer in his hand.
It's not me.
Wait. I think so.
No, it's not me.
No, it's somebody else.
Somebody else.
It's someone new.
Emilio, go for it.
Just a little more.
Mimics the middle-aged fellow.
I just gotta sell this. We've heard enough of that out of you.
Yeah.
The younger guy sneers.
We ain't giving you any more time, so quit asking.
I really just need a little longer this time. Please, you gotta believe me.
From the look of things, Mr. Yanagishita is dealing with some loan sharks. And the two thugs are clearly in no mood for his continued groveling. Chiri and I exchange a glance. It's probably best if we don't go out there right now. But now I'm really worried. Am I actually going to get paid for this gig? As I'm pondering that, one of the men grabs Yanagishita by the nape of the neck and drags him to his feet.
Okay, Panda can do that voice then. For the middle-aged man.
Come with us, pal. We'll take you someplace you can work off your debts. Say what?
Mr. Yanagishita wails.
Wait, Emilio, you do. That's your character. I forgot about it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Say what?
Mr. Yanagishita wails. The two men drag him away.
Huh. Guess he's gone then.
Chiri says. She's already starting to pack up her things. Wait, what are you doing? I ask.
Going home. Not much point in sticking around.
Going home?
I mean, the demo sure ain't happening now. Anyhow, it was nice working with you. See ya.
Moments later, Chiri is out the door. Now what do I do? I've been left here all by myself, more or less at a total loss. I'm stuck inside this catsuit forever.
BSC.
B. I decide to rock my head back and forth, good and hard. What gives? It won't come free no matter how hard I try to buck it off. To make things worse, now I've got this dull, throbbing pain at the back of my head. Like I bumped my head somewhere. But I don't remember doing that recently. Chiri flashes me a curious look.
What are you doing?
She asks. I thought maybe I could at least get the head off. I try pulling again, refusing to give up.
That ain't gonna work. That thing is attached to the body.
I slump forward in defeat, face planting on the tabletop.
Okay, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
What was the right call here? Should he take this guy down or back off after all? Let the others chase after the guy. Kano had his own job to do.
You might have already seen this. Wait, it's not.
Kano headed back to the scramble and picked up his poster. Hitomi was still standing at the handoff point, staring worriedly in the direction that the suspect had fled. No doubt she was wondering why, all of a sudden, the police had decided to let the guy go. Kano jogged over to Hitomi. But before he could reassure her, a sudden blow from behind sent him sprawling to the ground. Kano's mind flooded with rage as he scrabbled back to his feet.
What the hell?
He spun around to find himself grappling with a belligerent young man.
Wait. What the hell is your problem?
Kano snapped.
Let go of me! Don't call me man, pal!
The crowd had begun to stare. Not good. Here he was, causing a scene in public. Blowing his cover in the middle of an important case. This was neither the time nor the place for some dumb, random quarrel. Even as he came to his senses, Kano felt the strength ebb from the stranger's grip. He pushed the man away and quickly turned back toward Hitomi. She was gone. He scanned the area for any sign of her, but she had vanished without a trace. Kuze's mobile command center had also disappeared.
What did I miss?
The blood drained from Kano's face. The investigation had left him utterly behind. There wasn't even any signal on his radio. They must have switched frequencies while he was caught up in the tussle. Kano turned back to confront the troublemaker. He was gone too. Kano spun on his heel, searching, but the young man was nowhere in sight. The attaché case, Hitomi, the troublemaker, he'd lost all three. Right out of the starting gate, he'd bungled the entire operation. He should have left Tateno to look after Hitomi and gone after the attaché case himself. What the hell was he doing? Kano felt his self-confidence ebbing away like water.
Maybe it's time to be back to the sticks. Maybe his Toku's too fast-paced for a squirrel like me.
He had no idea what to do next, and so he just stood there. Frozen. Already drafting his letter of resignation in his head.